Hey friends, I'm writing because this morning I read a great piece by David Brooks on the New York Times opinion page. It was called Nine Non-Obvious Ways to Have Meaningful Conversations. And I was reading it and I was thinking how much it resonated with my facilitation practice. And I was thinking about this Thanksgiving, how complicated it is going to be. Many of us are not going to be with our families. Many of us will be gathering um, online and on Zoom, and there's some grief to that. But I'm wondering if there's also an opportunity to to go a little deeper, to kind of seize the moment of pattern and interrupt, to do things a little different. And so I wanted to share some of my own learnings from my practice, combining it with some of the insights from the column. Hopefully, this will be useful to you. I know that my immediate family had some of the deepest, most meaningful conversations that we could have had at the very beginning of this pandemic, when we didn't know what was going to happen, when we didn't know how bad it could get, when we didn't know um, how vulnerable we were or were not. And so we had to have very real conversations about life and death, about expectations, desires, and it brought us closer together. And so that opportunity exists here. I'm going to spend a minute or two talking about acknowledging that we are on native land, acknowledging the complications of this holiday. And from there, I'll talk a little bit more about how to hold space. So remember your native land. And what do I mean by that? I mean literally take time, take a moment to acknowledge that all of us that reap the benefits of of life on this continent, even those of us down the oppression scale, we're the beneficiaries of genocide, and that it is important to turn towards that, to actually face that, to feel the sensations that come with that truth, because it is in actually turning towards it that we are able to begin to take responsibility, to be more responsive uh, to Native people, to reparations, to making things right. There is a grief there, there's a shame there that makes it hard for us to look at. And the invitation is to actually turn towards it. You might do this for your family, you might not, but I strongly encourage you to do it for yourself. It'd be good if you want to take the ritual a step further, to acknowledge the ancestors of the land, the ancestors of your family, to take a little bowl and pick something from each of the foods that have been prepared. Um, Take something and put it in a little bowl, and maybe put it against your forehead and put it against your heart, and call on the spirits of the land, the ancestral energies, honor the people that preceded us. Perhaps take some water and go take it outside, and let a critter take it, and trust that offering will be well received as a ritualized way to honor our ancestors and the ancestors of the land. Something simple but meaningful that I strongly recommend on a day that is about bounty and about food and about being together. So, having said that, I want to talk about other ways to have meaningful conversation. So, I'm inviting you, to listening here, to be the one that holds space. And that really means that you're the one that listens with the utmost care. You're the one that invites people in. You might invite just an individual. Ideally, you can invite a couple. It doesn't matter if not everybody doesn't want to go along, but if you can bring people along, that would be great. That requires your own grounding, right? Your own anchoring to the earth. You're not performing anything. You're literally opening up a space and holding it energetically, inviting people into a type of bowl, a type of container. And that container is defined by both your grounding, your holding, and your commitment to listen so deeply that the person that you're listening to, or the people that you're listening to, will find out something about themselves, will learn something about themselves in the quality of your listening. Here are some of the questions that you could ask. And you want to ask elevating questions, and you could do something where all people answer the same one, two, or three questions. You take a turn each and go in a circle. You might put all of these questions in a basket and invite people to pick it up and answer it. Maybe more than one person should answer the question. So I'll pick a question from the basket or the hat or whatever it is and answer it for myself, and then I'll invite somebody else. I'll pick somebody else to answer it. Just different playful ways to invite people into the conversation. But you want to ask conversations that elevate. These are open-ended questions. It's not truth or dare or spin the bottle. These are not yes or no questions. These are questions that will elevate all of us that are listening together. So here are a couple of questions. What crossroads are you at? What crossroads are you at? Each one of us is always at some crossroads or other. And maybe we haven't thought about it, or maybe it is all we can think about. But to speak it and share it with loved ones is a powerful way of making ourselves known, and also of making it clear that all of us are continually at these moments of choice for what we're going to do with this journey of life. So what crossroads are you at is a good question, a good elevating question. What commitments have you made that you no longer believe in? That's a magical question. I've been starting the interviews for my podcast by asking people to tell me what is a belief that they changed their mind about. You know, we live in a time of such rigidity of thought where everybody seems to be like doubling down on what they think is true. And this opens up that possibility. This opens up the possibility of change and of transformation. It allows us to let go of things that might no longer be useful. It's a very potent and elevating question. Who do you feel most grateful to have in your life? What a lovely and sweet question. One that really invites us to know that we are as much as we are with, that there are people in our lives that help us see ourselves and help us grow. What problem did you used to have but now have licked? What a great question. A reassurance that we do know how to overcome things, that there are things that we have overcome in the past, and that there might be problems that we're facing right now that we might be able to look back on and say, I've licked that problem. I no longer have it. You might ask how? In what ways are you sliding backwards? What a great and compassionate question, right? It allows us to reveal the parts of ourselves that are holding us back. Life is so much about 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and to just speak about this all honestly, again, frees us from the shame and humanizes everybody around the table. Another great elevating question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? There's so much fear right now. There's so much uncertainty about the future. There's so much fear always about fitting in, about being accepted or not, about belonging where we belong, about the parts of us that we think are not acceptable, the places in which we're allowed to fail, or we're afraid to fail. What a great question to invite those parts to speak. There's a corollary that I think is just as powerful, if not more. What should you do even though you are afraid? What should you do even though you are afraid? Because the things that matter the most are things that we have to do, even though we are afraid of doing them. I keep coming up as I try to engage my own growth and my own evolution. I keep coming up against the reality that I'll never be able to create a safety net big enough for the leap that God or the universe wants me to take. That God will always ask for me to take a leap that is bigger than the net that I have. Because that's what the universe demands. Trust, faith, the possibility that what you're trying might not work. What should you do even though you're afraid? Imagine hearing the people in your family answer that question. What is the most important lesson that this pandemic has taught you? It has taught me so much already about what matters and about what doesn't, about how people react to fear, to science, to reality, about how we can be with each other in the best of ways and also in the worst of ways. So much depth in these hard and trying times. Let's make meaning of it all. What is the most important lesson that this pandemic has taught you? I'll finish by repeating myself. Listening is everything. It is the medicine. It is the magic. It is what will work. Set the intention to be the best listener in the room when you're inviting people into this. Give the gift of your focus, of your attention. Be like sunlight on the speaker. Allow yourself to be still. Let go of any desire to answer the question yourself. Do not rehearse what you're doing next. Just listen with care. You're modeling the practice. You're modeling the practice. Model how to be okay with silence. It's okay to hold a pause. And you holding the space have to be the one that models that. And also, don't rush to give comfort. Emotion should come here. And you'll notice other people might want to shut down the tears and just invite people to just allow the tears to flow, because tears are medicine. Don't rush to comfort. Let people show themselves, and they'll also realize that they can hold themselves because they are well held by you and by those who are learning from you. Listening is everything. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving, and make sure you have meaningful conversations. Many blessings.